Depression brand is a nonprofit organization. We have a website and YouTube channel, both called Win Over Depression. We have several followers on Pinterest, and you can reach us on Pinterest at TT Mental Health Expert. Welcome to Win Over Depression. I am your host, Tamara Trotter, and today we'll be talking about how all of us are winners, even though sometimes we just don't feel like we are. The truth is, we are all equipped with the tools of success, and that is why giving up is never an option, because we are certainly much stronger than we think. We got to stay in the game of life. I know that depression and the struggle is real because I have my ups and downs as well. I've been working really hard and I've been tired, but I know that I can still continue to move forward because, quite frankly, I really don't have a choice. I cannot allow depression to cause internal sickness. And even though every day I am faced with shaping the day and working really hard to make it turn out in a positive way, it still is a struggle. And I know that I still must continue even when I feel like I just can't take another step. Because the moment we act on that, we can end up in a dark, gloomy place. We may wonder why tragedy comes into our lives so unexpectedly, and that may lend itself toward the reason you may not feel like a winner. Why does so much pain have to cross our path? What did we do to deserve such an insurmountable circumstance to bring our life to a halt? My friend, you didn't do anything. Life is a journey, and we are oftentimes subjected to its storm. All we can do is weather what comes our way, knowing that it too shall pass. And I know that it sounds much easier said than done. And I know that we can never comprehend nor understand why situations, circumstances, and it probably feels like bad luck just follows us, because we can never comprehend nor understand why certain situations happen in our lives, especially when we seem to be doing everything above board. But all we can do is bravely face whatever comes our way and figure out how to deal with the outcome. It does also seem like life gets harder in our latter years, and I can definitely agree with that. And I'm finding that as we grow older, we must remember that our loved ones are also growing older. And therefore, we're going to be subjected to death and to circumstances beyond our control. And we have to just figure out how to keep going, because we can't quit. And everyone is going to experience times in their lives when they are constantly just pushing through the pain. And it is painful when you lose a loved one, or when life just doesn't seem like it's too much fun anymore. Remember when we were kids and we laughed and played and nothing seemed to really matter to us at that time. We were just wondering what we were going to have for dinner and what was on TV. But when we get older, we stop laughing along the way. We lose about 5,000 to 7,000 pieces of laughter every single month. And so I know that it is tiring just dealing with the daily effects of depression. And I try to remind people that when people are depressed, there may not be a trigger when someone is feeling down, because there's just an emptiness that you feel, and you're just not settled. You're not settled. And every day you have to just try to be upbeat and happy and just try and make the most of it. But we are all winners, and I'll tell you why. We are winners because we are still here. We are winners because we haven't given up. We are winners because we are finding information that can help us, like this podcast. If you're listening to this podcast, that means that you are seeking help. So we got to push ourselves, because sometimes if we don't, we will just sink back into that rut. So we have to remind ourselves that sleeping for a long period of time or staying in a room that's very dark is not going to help us. And sometimes we just have to show up determined that when we do, we can settle in, and for a few minutes in time, we won't feel like our mental health is lingering in the background. Because we all have a season that's coming our way. And when it's our season, there's absolutely nothing that can keep us from receiving what our Heavenly Father, or whatever spiritual presence you have in your life, whatever is for you, no one can keep from happening. It may seem as though it is far in the distance, but it may be just around the corner, and you have to hold on and wait for it. You are a winner. You always were, and you always will be. I know you may not believe it, but you are. You must start looking in the mirror and seeing yourself in a new light. Seeing yourself happy, free from mental illness, and realizing that you have always been a winner, because that is the way that you were made. Before I end my podcast today, I want to share with you something that I wrote that's pretty unique, and it is called If I Told You How I Really Feel. If I told you how I really feel, would you still be my friend? If I told you how I really feel, would you look at me differently? Would you think of me less? Think I was weak and allowed others to take advantage of me? If I told you I feel sad most of the time, and on some days I cannot mask it well, would you still want to be bothered with me? If I told you I have a debilitating condition that sometimes controls my thoughts and my mood, would you want to be around me? If I told you sometimes life just doesn't have much meaning, would you turn your back on me? If you found out I need medication to help me sleep, and sometimes I want to lay in bed all day, would you stop checking on me? If I told you much of the time I am in physical and emotional pain, would you think I was a hypochondriac? If I told you I suffer with chronic depression and I see a psychiatrist, would you stop calling me? Would you still want to be my friend? Well, I do have a mental illness, and I'm sometimes afraid to talk about it because society might think I'm crazy. Sometimes I fake it, and most of the time, I am fighting to survive. Well, what I need you to understand is that I do struggle. I can't just turn it off and on, but every single day there is something that I really can't explain, but it is something that sometimes gets the best of me, but every day I fight so that I can continue to be loved by my family, loved by my friends, and I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that my life is worth living and this too shall pass. I never want to end my podcast without thanking you so very much for listening. I now have over 10,000 subscribers and I am truly thankful and excited. Please share this podcast with someone that you know either suffers with a mental illness or know someone who does. We are in a pandemic with regard to our mental health. We must, on a daily basis, keep in touch with our loved ones and do a mental health check of our kids because the suicide rate is through the roof, and we need to make sure that we are checking in to see how the mental health of those we love is going, because there may not be any warning signs. Remember, you can find me on Instagram at Tamara Trotter. You can also find me on Pinterest at TT Mental Health Expert, as well as Tumblr, LinkedIn, and you can join my Facebook group, also called Win Over Depression. Take care, my friend.